I'm almost there.
Hi,
Just starting my video. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks. Let's see here. Here we are. And do I want to be in a black void? Let's see here. Maybe I'll flip it so the light isn't there. Ta-da. Nope, light's still there. Oh well. Let's see. Boop. Now it's not.
That
How are
works.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. How's your day going?
It's going all right. Having some fun. I'm excited about the release. Um, and I'm working on some various projects. I'm very, very excited about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, is it cool if I jump in with my questions?
Oh yeah, I guess I'm curious. Like, is this a podcast or is this a video YouTube thing?
It'll be on YouTube.
Okay, great, sure.
All right. Um, so I watched Esme My Love the other day. Absolutely loved it. I love a good I don't want to say like artsy film, but it is very like artsy, like artistic, and it's I don't know film terms, so I'm just trying to I loved it, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, thank you.
Um, so I hear that it's inspired by true events. Can you explain what events inspired it and just kind of how the film kind of came to be?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's really exciting. I'm really excited about the release on June 2nd to digital. Um, and yeah, the inspiration for this film, there's really two main points of inspiration. The first was the story that a woman told me. Um, and when she explained it to me, what the story was, I thought it was absolutely terrifying. And she told me, no, this was actually one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life. Um, and it basically was the experience of when she had her first daughter. There was, she was a toddler at that point, and at night sometimes she would, walk by the bedroom or whatever, toddle out of her room and toddle over. And one night, uh, this woman saw somebody following her toddler, and this is not someone she's seen before. And to me, that's extremely frightening. And she said the person turned, or the figure turned, looked at her and smiled. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if that happened to me, because I have a little 2 year old right now, but I didn't at the time. But it sounded terrifying to me. She said, no, this was the most amazing experience I've ever had because that person was an angel. And um, I had the most amazing feeling I've ever had, nothing like it ever since in my life. And that just really stuck with me. That just really stuck with me, how something that she described, just like the duality, how somebody can experience, one person can experience one thing while somebody else could understand it completely differently. So that stuck with me. So that's kernel number one. Kernel number two is I was in upstate New York in a place called Hague, New York, specifically on the Delarm family farm. There's three sisters, uh, Sally, Shade Alarm sisters, and Sally's a town historian. We were up there because we were shooting a music video, and the drummer is Sally's son. And so we were up there shooting a music video, and this place was just beautiful. It's on the border of New York and Vermont, and there's this old farmhouse, and they had this old dairy farm there. So I get to start talking to Sally, who happens to be the town historian as well. And we're talking, and I'm just, this place is amazing. I'm in love with this place. I'm like, Sally's amazing. And I came back for another music video. We talked some more, and she started telling me her family's stories and history. And there actually was a great great grandmother or great great aunt, I forget which, named Hannah. And when she was a little girl, she was almost stolen away by people who came to visit. And one of the neighbors, as they were leaving on the wagon, noticed this little girl with bright red hair, and they said, "Oh, that's got to be Hannah." And so they rounded up the horses and they went and they got the girl back. And when she came back, she had a St. Christopher's medal in her hand. And that actual St. Christopher's, Hannah's actual St. Christopher's, is the one we use in the movie. So um, while Hannah isn't exactly based on Hannah, the real Hannah, we did use some of the real Hannah's stuff. And Hannah is kind of an amalgamation between many different people in the Delarme family and some of their actually told. And the bottle cap in the film is the actual Delarme family dairy bottle cap. The farmhouse we filmed in was their farmhouse. So they had a place called the Big Rock. The lake is their lake. So we incorporated a lot of the kind of Delarme family actual history, but then when you get so far back, it becomes a little bit of folklore too. And the first thing I talked about, and you take those two, those were the seeds for the script. And then when I finally found my scriptwriter partner, Laura Allen, who's amazing, we went up to the farm together and we wrote around the actual space to finish. And Laura wrote the actual screenplay. And I did some edits, but Laura wrote the screenplay, and I came up to her with the idea and kernels. So that's really inception there.
Oh wow. That is like incredible and creepy all at the same time.
Yeah, it is. It's really just kind of a very special place. Hague, New York. The town is a very small town, but the Delorme family farm, especially, they're just really wonderful people, and just they have an incredible story to tell.
Um, how did you come up with Esme, My Love as the title?
So, another one of the inspirations for the film was, I always wanted to tell a story about a mother and a daughter. There's a mother and a daughter that I know, and this mother decided to have a child on her own, and that child's name was Esme. And she has gone all over the place with her, and nothing matters to her more than this daughter that she had on her own. And she was kind of the name was definitely inspiration there, and also just the configuration was an inspiration there. So Esme, my love, is you know the name, the character is based off of you know a real Esme.
Oh, I love that. Um, I spoke with Fletcher the other day, and they said that you wanted to use the woods and the forest as kind of its own character, and I was wondering if you could explain that a little further.
Absolutely, the Delorme family farm, like I said, is a very magical, special place, and when you get there, it has a feeling to it and it has an importance to the family, and it's just a beautiful place. For the characters themselves, it's only a two character film. um, this in the world of the movie, this space is filled with a lot um, of history and potentially magic. And uh, while none of the ancestors are there, like we don't actually see them, we feel their presence through the woods.
Interesting. Um, and throughout the film, I don't quite know if this is like the right way to put it, but I felt like there was like a shift in perspective on how like the first part of the film kind of seemed like it was more from Hannah's perspective, and then at the end it was from Esme's perspective. Is that what you were going for, and kind of why?
Absolutely. It's a two-act film. There's Hannah's act and there's Esme's act. It was written that way. There's a shift in perspective right around the scene of the lake, and it's because we're exploring a lot of things, particularly the mother daughter relationship, duality, and in every person's life, there comes a time where they realize that their parents may not be infallible, and that's a very pivotal point in your life, any person's life, where you realize, oh, maybe they can make mistakes. Huh, how about that? How does that affect me? You know, there are times when you come of age, and sometimes you have to come of age a little bit earlier than you're ready for it. And there's a shift there.
That makes sense. I'm just glad that I wasn't like going crazy when I was like, oh, this seems different.
Oh no, I'm so glad you did. It's very specifically a two-act film.
Okay, good, good. Um, yeah, you had an incredibly small cast. What was it like working with Stacy and Audrey?
Amazing. Um, when you only have two actresses and one's a little girl, one thing you have to think about is that when you're working with a child actress, you're not just working with her, you're working with her acting coach as well. And her acting coach in this case was her mom. So as much work as someone that young puts in and the amazing work that they do, the person who is kind of their bridge to other folks. And it wouldn't be so much that Heidi, her mother, was interpreting what I was saying and telling Audrey because Audrey understood. She kind of served as a bridge from Audrey to me because Audrey's so precocious. She just seemed like a little mini adult sometimes, but she's a 9-year-old girl and she had like a little stuffed unicorn that she would take out between takes. And sometimes I think Heidi would just be able to translate some of the things that I would say into what something that would make sense to Audrey, and then she'd say, "Oh, that's what you meant," and then she would kind of come in. So that was really exciting. Stacy, I mean, it's a very very physical role, Hannah. It's a very very intensely physical role, and I think Stacy jumped into that with uh just like she really put her all into it. I remember talking to one of my associate producers, and she was just like, "Man, if you had put me in as Hannah, we would not be friends at the end of this because Stacy was just up in the mud and rolling around, getting all like soggy." And so the physical challenges for Stacy were pretty intense. And I think just the fact that she was game for pretty much anything. Obviously, everything was safe. We had a wonderful UPM and stunt coordinator, fight choreographer, Crystal Arnett, who made sure that, you know, when we're swinging shovels at each other, we're not really going to get each other, but we still feel the intensity and whatnot. Um, Stacy and Audrey were really just kind of in the moment, and they're not either one of them, not either one of them are method actors. And so sometimes I'd be like, can you do XYZ? And Stacy would be like, oh yeah, so you want me to have my, like, you want me to start crying, but it looked like I've been crying a little bit ago. This is how I do this physically. So she had some tricks up her sleeve that she was ready for. And then when we had some very like, it's like, hey Stacy, I know you can swim, but can you hit a mark? And she's like, oh yeah, don't worry. By the way, I used to do some underwater modeling. Do you need me to also say something intelligible? Because I think that this would bring a lot to the shot. And I was like, oh, that's an option? Because in my mind, I'm like, that's not a reasonable ask. But then Stacy was just like, we could do this. And so one of the very uh standout shots is one where Stacy is underwater coming straight at the camera. So she had not only had to hit her mark, come straight at the camera, not hit the camera, but then know exactly when to do something intelligible. And it's a really difficult physical maneuver, and she did it like 6 times in a row with no problem. So that's just like another testament to Stacy there.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Um, Another thing that I noticed in looking at your IMDb page for the movie is that it's a very woman-heavy cast and crew. Is that something that you did on purpose, or is that something that just happened?
Well, to some extent, we're telling a mother-daughter story, so it had like the cast has to be, and I wanted to tell a mother-daughter story. That's absolutely intentional, and because it's a mother-daughter story, it was absolutely important that my co-writer was a woman because while the relationship between a child and a parent is very special, the relationship between a mother and a daughter is something different, and also it's just unique. And I definitely needed a female perspective on the writing. Then everybody else, the one of the composers, I already knew who I wanted. She was a woman. Did it matter that she was a woman? Yes, actually, because Charlotte Little Hales, whose voice plays throughout the film in the score, she's someone I used to play music with. Actually, the first person I ever played music with in middle school and then high school. And to me, her voice is very important. It represents to me um, in the movie to this feeling of love and nostalgia and heartbreak and loss. And I knew it had to be Charlotte's voice that would bring. We only have 5 minutes to fall in love with Stacy in the beginning of the movie. You have 5 minutes to fall in love with Hannah and feel empathy with her. And what does that? What allows us to do that is one, Stacy's just you could just look at her face all day or just like be in those eyes all day. But the thing that really does it, besides Stacy, is Charlotte's voice. And you have 5 minutes to fall in love, and Charlotte's composition and voice are what allow you to do that. So I always knew that those were going to be the collaborators there. Um, it was not my intention to do like a women's empowerment type thing. It was just the women were the ones who needed to do the job. And in the case of art department and sound and wardrobe, the people who were right for the job were women. Um, could a man have done some of those jobs? Sure, but these were the best people for the job, and gender didn't really matter for some of them.
That's great. That's great. Um, that's definitely something that I look for. It's like who's the best at the time to do the job at hand, kind of thing.
And absolutely, and I'll say this, I'm going to brag on Fletcher for a little bit. She is, I can say without hesitation, one of the best living cinematographers. And you get bunch of like tall men who get a lot more opportunities because they're tall men, and she's a short lady. But her work and I'm is just phenomenal. And our film had a very low budget. We had a $90,000 shooting budget, and I think, and a lot of people think, we were able to make this movie look like a few million bucks.
Oh, for sure.
And a lot of that is a testament to Fletcher's creativity, attention to detail, and ability to collaborate.
Oh, I definitely agree. When you, without knowing that, I wouldn't have known that it was a small budget film. So,
Oh yeah, this is an incredibly low budget film, labor of love.
um, we are just about at time. But you mentioned earlier that you have some other projects that you're working on. Can you talk about any of those yet?
Oh, sure, absolutely. This year in Tribeca, I have a short piece called Aisha. It's a 7-minute short audio piece that I have in competition. I'm very excited about it. So that'll be playing in Tribeca early June. I'm working on a horror sci-fi, a much more genre piece. You were saying, Esme, My Love is not an easy film. It's not a, it doesn't, if you want to just sit back and be entertained and have the entertainment kind of come at you like a Marvel movie, it's not that. If you want to engage with the movie and kind of exist with the movie and be challenged by the movie and come back at it, Esme, My Love is your film. Um, I that's the movie I wanted to make. I was very excited to make that film. The next thing I'm going to be working on, the sci-fi horror, is going to be much more genre, a little bit more, a little bit more easy. It's still going to be, there's still going to be things that it's going to be covering subject matter that I'm very excited to cover, um, but it's going to be a little bit more genre and accessible.
That's cool. That's cool. Um, are where are those at in the process?
So Aisha is finished and it's going to be in competition. And then you can check out, if you want to see a teaser for Demo, the horror sci-fi podcast that I'll be doing. It'll be about, I want to say, eight. It's going to be probably 8 2-part episodes, each part being somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes. So you're going to get a nice, long, fun ride there. Um, and you can check out the teaser for that on the Silver Podcast Network. So if you go to Stitcher or Apple Podcasts or wherever, and you type in Silver Podcast Network, you can catch teasers for all 4 of the things I'm going to be either directing or producing next.
Awesome.
This other one's pretty fun too. I just really like the title. It's the least developed, but it's got, in my opinion, the best title. You ready for it? Don't steal it. ASM Murderer. So like
Oh,
ASM Murder R.
I love it.
Sorry, dad jokes and gory. So there you go.
It's a perfect combination.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Um, Thank you so much for chatting. Again, I loved Esme My Love, and I am definitely going to look forward to ASMR Murder.
ASM Murderer.
There
Anyways,
we go.
ASM Murderer. It's hard to say, but it's written out. It's perfect. But thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity as well.
Of course, of course. You have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.